grab your notes and get ready to take a lot of them because I notoriously go through a lot of information in a little amount of time, and I'm going to give you everything I got. So, the LinkedIn algorithm. Now, we have done this masterclass for several years now, and before it was just the LinkedIn algorithm, I actually talked about hashtags. So I always like to begin this presentation by talking about the current state of hashtags on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is currently in the state of depreciating hashtags. So what that means is you can use hashtags, but the effectiveness of them is no more than what we're going to talk about next. So a hashtag, I want you to remember that a hashtag is simply a keyword. Who knows what a keyword is? Anybody want to drop in the chat what a keyword is? A keyword is something that your ideal client is typing into a search bar. If you hear any other complicated definitions of it, it's really just that. So a keyword is something that your ideal client is typing into a search bar. Now, you might be thinking, I have no idea what my ideal client is typing into a search bar. And I would tell you that you have to know. In business, that's not optional. You have to know what your ideal client is typing into a search bar. In the Academy, I have modules on this, and I show you what you need to do to find the keywords that you need to use. But when it comes to using these, really, all you need to think is, I need to figure out what my ideal client is typing into the search bar, and I need to use those words in my posts. Whether you make them into hashtags or you just use the words in your post, it's the same difference. So basically what I'm telling you is there's no real reason to use hashtags right now. So just keep in mind that you need to be using content based on what your ideal client is searching for. So, and honestly, if you are ever stuck on content, if you're ever stuck on what to post, this is like your North Star. This is what you always need to be going back to, is what is my ideal client typing into the Google search bar? And that is going to help you create the right words for your posts. And if you're somebody that's like, I don't know, I still want to use the hashtags, you can use the hashtags. It just doesn't make a difference. Hashtags, words, they're both going to let you be found. But you need to be using the right ones, right? So on LinkedIn, using hashtags like, that are pretty obscure or things like that, it's not going to do, this isn't Instagram, right? This isn't going to help you. You need to be using things that actually somebody is actually typing into the search bar. So if somebody is looking for a lawyer in West Virginia, I'll just say that those would be your keywords, right? And those would be the things that you would want to make sure that you're including in your post. And also in your about section, also like wherever you can, the more that you can include these things, the better, but we just don't want to overkill it, right? So with that, where can I find these keywords? I have put a few places where you can find relevant keywords, but really go to the Google search bar and type in keywords and you're going to find all sorts of resources. These are just a few. AI is a place where you can find keywords now, and that actually in the Academy tomorrow, we are having an AI expert come in and teach you guys about AI. So it truly, like, the Academy is the place. We're taking all the things that we know that you need and bringing them there. This is one of them. So if you're looking, if you need keywords, this is a good place to get started. So that is kind of where hashtags are right now. And whether or not you use them, to me, it doesn't matter. I just want to make sure that all of you are using the right words in your content. So if you can just bring it back to that every single time, you're going to be successful. Make sense? Okay, so this is my favorite question to ask, and I'm going to exit full screen here so I can see the chat. But what is an algorithm? Where do you hear the word algorithm used the most? And what do you usually hear it in reference to? Instagram, marketing. Okay, so but what if you can tell me another word for an algorithm? Somebody just said constantly changing. I love that. because that's how we feel, right? A formula, Stan said a formula, that's it. So an algorithm is really, at its core, what we're thinking is an algorithm is a set of rules. So just let that sink in, because when you think about it that way, it becomes more attainable, right? Like, oh, okay, if I follow these rules, my post will perform better. And that's what my whole presentation today is going to be about, is about giving you some simple rules that you can adopt and use that are going to help your content go farther, going to help you go farther. Now, on Instagram and Meta and all those other places, the algorithm is not as transparent as it is on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is great because they tell you what you want, they want you to do. They tell, and that, I mean, if we all had that on the other platforms, wouldn't our lives be a lot easier? Because I can tell you, everywhere I see is another guru telling me that they know, they've cracked the code and they know the Instagram algorithm. And I'm going to tell you, nobody knows the Instagram algorithm except the creators of Meta, and that's about it. So this, what I'm going to go over today, is widely accepted rules that will help your posts do better. So think about it that way, and I think it'll be a lot simpler for you. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to tell you when we think about the LinkedIn algorithm, and this I always tell people, and I'm hoping that this kind of helps you see the big picture. But every move that you make on the platform determines how effectively LinkedIn will work for you. Let that kind of sit with you for a second as you think about this, but think about this. The profiles that you view, the content that you look at in the feed, the things that you put in your posts, all of these things, if you do these things in the correct way, is going to contribute to your feed being a better place. How many of you guys could say that your feed right now is boring? Or your feed is not full of ideal clients? Or your feed is basically just full of like a set of 10 people that you interact with on a daily basis. And it's not helpful, right? Because if we make the right moves on LinkedIn, we can actually make our feed a better place for us. And that goes with the features that we use on LinkedIn and all of the rules that I'm going to show you today. So one of the big things that, you know, we talked about earlier this week is not posting your link in the chat. And ultimately, I'm not telling you not to post your LinkedIn link in the chat because I don't want you to. I mean, it does clutter up the chat, to be fair. But the big thing is it's going to wreck your feed. If you are just connecting with every, you know, Amy, you know, Kim, whoever, like if we're just really connecting with everybody, then you're going to see just a jumble of things in your feed that aren't what you need to be seeing. And what, you know, as entrepreneurs, we are so busy, right? And we have all of these things that we're doing. And so if we have to comb through our feed, if we have to comb through everything and try to find the people that we really want to see, that is an uphill battle, right? And you're going to make your life a heck of a lot more difficult by doing that, because this is one of the big things that I coach to about in the academy, is how to kind of steer the ship once you have been going in the wrong direction. And I know a lot of you probably have a lot of questions right now, and I promise you, like, I'm going to be answering a bunch of them because I hear this all the time as we talk about like steering the ship so that you actually have a feed that feels, you know, like what you're looking for, and not like you're looking for a needle in a haystack. Because that's what, if you post your link in the chat, you're going to get. If you just, every crumb is not a meal. And if you post your link in the chat, it's just going to, you're going to have a pile of crumbs, and you're not going to be able to know where those really good golden nuggets are in your feed. So hopefully that makes sense. And with that, this is the question. This is the question that I get all of the time. And I see you guys are probably posting this in the chat right now. Should I disconnect from people who aren't my avatar? Now, if you go through the academy, we may get to a point where that is my suggestion from you. But ultimately, when we're beginning, I never want you to do that. How many of you have tried to disconnect from people? It is a painstaking process to disconnect from people. Some people ask me, oh, can I just like go through and like bulk delete all my connections? No, you can't. You have to go to them one by one and disconnect. So if you have a network of thousands of people, and I would rather you be working on more needle moving activity to get you to where you want to be quicker. So I call this reactive versus proactive actions. A reactive action in marketing is disconnecting from people. That's not a needle mover to me. What are proactive things that you can do to move the needle as opposed to just disconnecting from people? Building a solid profile. Number one, create, so to speak, on what's you see in your feed, much more than going and disconnecting with people. Disconnecting with people is not going to steer things as quickly as connecting with the right people will. Ultimately, you may want to go there, but in the beginning, it's not the thing that is going to help you make money faster, build your business faster, get where you want to be faster. Does that make sense? Hopefully everybody can see where I'm going with that. So from here, I'm going to go through a series. I think I have 4 rules, and these are just widely known rules with the LinkedIn algorithm that are going to help you do better. And if any of these seem really simple, I want you to think about this with a really like you're under a microscope. And I want you to be really honest with the content that you're posting, with what you're currently doing. And I want you to look at this through the lens of, what can I change to make things better? But in order to change things, right, we have to take a good look at what we're doing. And the first thing is providing value. So I want to make sure that you guys are posting with a purpose. Like, it's so important to post with a purpose. And bringing it back to the Google search bar, it's so important to post content that is based on what people are actually looking for. You may feel like in order to get the sale, you need to be posting buy my stuff, buy my stuff, the sale. You need to be posting buy my stuff, the problems and things that they have right now. And providing value is going to get you leaps and bounds further than consistently just asking for a sale. So that's really the nuance that we go into inside of the Academy, is how to do that. So other things is just want a community that's constantly engaged. So that really should be your number one goal, is to get a conversation going in your feed. So again, I'm going to, beat a dead horse here and say, again, what is your ideal client? Typing into the Google search bar, answer their queries with your value-based posts. So if, somebody is typing in like how to optimize my brain health, I need to be answering that and the value that I provide in my posts. And then the other thing that I'm constantly instructing our Academy students and any of our other students to think about is, what does your ideal client need to know before they decide to invest with you? And this is an exercise all of you can do. Everybody should do this as soon as possible, but grab a fresh Google Doc, a fresh sheet of paper, and write down, if your ideal client makes a sale with you, what was everything that they needed to know? What was everything that they needed to have answered for themselves? Those are the things that we need to go back and infuse into our content that's really value-based. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is a great rule, and this is something that always shakes things up for everybody, but I want you to be using a variety of LinkedIn features. And you guys can admit it, if you're one of these in the chat, let me know. But if you're somebody that's just using a picture and text every single time, let me know, because that's our default, right? That's what we go to, is a caption and a picture and a caption and a picture. I really want to encourage you to use different features on LinkedIn. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about LinkedIn Live, audio events, creator tools, things like that in a little more depth. But now I want you to be thinking about these other features that you can be using, because when you use the things that LinkedIn provides for you, these other tools, LinkedIn is going to release a feature with that utilizes short form video. So think the videos that you're using on Instagram, but not really. More education based, more thought leadership based, but short form videos are really the way that people are consuming content right now. So bringing those over to the platform can really help you right now. We like to do audio events. Audio events are still one of the best things that you can do to get traction on LinkedIn. Articles, which I know Denise is going to be talking about today, but then also collaborative articles. So collaborative articles are the things that I talked about earlier this week with Top Voice, but just writing a good old traditional LinkedIn article can go a long way. And doing these different types of things is what is really going to help you get that traction on the platform. So if you've been in a rut, and this is where I said, let's be honest with ourselves right now. And if you've been in a rut and doing the same thing over and over again, take today as your sign to do something a little bit differently. Okay. This is one that a lot of people don't love because we all like posting our links, but LinkedIn wants to be a place where people like have a community and are talking to each other and having good conversations. So with that, we want to make sure that we're not constantly taking people off of the platform. So have a conversation. So if you're constantly sending people to your blog, sending people to your sales page, all of these types of things, that's not to say that you never should, but for the most part, you should be trying to create a conversation on LinkedIn. And there are places that LinkedIn wants you to put your links. So you can put a link in the top of your profile. You can put a link in your featured section. You can put links in your articles. You can put links in your newsletters. You can put links in your events. You can put links in your DMs, news, like all of these things. Those are the places where LinkedIn, if you put a link in your post every now and then, it's not going to be the end of the world. But if I were posting 5 times a week, I would want to maybe use a link one time. So just think about it, like the majority of the time with anything that I'm talking about here, we want to be doing these things. So just keep in mind at the rule 3, to sum it up, people, keep them on the platform and you will see more traction in your feed. If LinkedIn notices that you are every post taking some people off the platform, think about this logically. Why would they want to show your post to more people? If they show your post to more people, people are going to be leaving the platform. So if you think about it that way, it just makes sense that we want to keep people on the platform. Okay, final rule, and then we're going to go into a couple of little bonus things. I want you to go for engagement above all with anything that you're doing. So we talked about this with your value-based posts, but we need to get a conversation going. So if you've just been posting a lot of me content, stuff about yourself, stuff about your program, stuff about this and that, I want you to kind of back it up right here and think, what can you do to get people talking? And typically, talking about ourselves in any kind of depth isn't going to be the way. So I want you to think, what's the low-hanging fruit here? What could I do to get people talking? So the first thing is, and I'm gonna see if I can show you this on LinkedIn. Yep, this is great. So if you guys can see this feed here, what we're looking for here, and Emma, I don't know if Emma's watching this here, but she says, summer not going as planned. It's not too late to get that blend right. No, I think there's a little opportunity there for Emma. But what we can see here is we can't see all of Emma's posts. Your content out. To me, I like to look at the hook last and see what's the overall idea and how can I get people interested. But those, I think a lot of the problem when I'm helping people with their content is nobody's reading it, right? Like people aren't even reading it. So how could they get to the good stuff? How could they get to all the stuff that you have spent hours probably trying to construct if they don't even click into it? So make sure that you've got that really great hook. The next thing is to always include a call to action in your post. So at the end of every post, if you let's say that your goal is you want people to engage with your posts, which is great. That's what I want you to do. But if you don't ask people to take an action, they're not going to. So that's why we include a call to action at the end of our post, and I'm going to give you some examples on the next page. But we ask people to take an action, share this post, share your thoughts, like anything like that. Ask them to take an action at the end of the post. The next thing that you can do to get engagement is tag people and businesses in your posts. Use carousel posts with text, which we're going to talk about today, but just make sure also that you're connected with the right people, because if you're not connected with the right people and you're bringing every person in the world into your feed, why would they be interested in your posts, right? So we want to make sure that we are going for engagement. So we want to make sure client really wants to see. So here's some examples of calls to action. Like this post, share your perspective. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Send me a DM, download my freebie, DM me for my freebie, DM me for anything that could be. You know, tag a friend. Asking people to tag a friend is always a good one, because that, you know, opens up your network to your second and third degree connections. Book a call, save this post, RSVP to the event, read my article, subscribe to my newsletter, ring the bell for updates, all the things like that. And right now, to do anything, so you're just like, oh, that's good. That doesn't do us any good when people don't engage with our content. So we need to make sure that we're asking people to engage. Next thing, so if my team can drop this link in the chat, what you might be wondering is, how can I know if I'm doing a good job? Well, LinkedIn has this little tool called SSI that we go over in depth in the Academy, where we can kind of look at how you're doing, and we can see with the score that LinkedIn gives you. So if you're going to use this link, number one, it is not for premium users only. Everybody always asks me that. Everybody can get into this, whether you have premium or not. I want you to be logged into LinkedIn, and I want you to go to this link. And if you do this right now, I'd love for you to drop your SSI score in the chat and let us see what it is. But this is Melissa's SSI score. And what we can see here, I'm not going to break it down today into the components, but we can kind of get an idea of how well we're doing. So Melissa's industry SSI rank is in the top 1%. Her network is the top 2%. She's got some work to do in her sections here, but she's doing really well on the other things. And we can see her overall score is a 71 out of 100. If your SSI score is over 70, you're able to connect with more people with a free account on a weekly basis. If your SSI score is below 70, you only can be connecting with about 100 people a week, which is totally fine and more than fine, more than enough to grow your network, right? Because we want to make sure that we're growing our network with people that actually matter. But I'd be curious to see what your guys' score is, but you want to be shooting for that 70 and above. And I'm telling you, when you start making some of the adjustments that we do today, you're going to see it get their score higher, because ultimately this is how LinkedIn ranks us. And if our number is higher, they're going to show our post to more people, right? So we always want to have this in mind and be thinking about that. So that is your SSI score. And you also can perform more searches. You can do more when your SSI score is higher. And LinkedIn is also going to look at things like your top voice contributions and all of those things with kind of the lens of they're doing a really great job, or they've got some work to do. And thus, you know, kind of how you're rated based on those things is going to be, you know, in comparison to what your social selling index is. And the last thing, how do you know, the SSI score is how you know you're on the right track. But the other thing I want you to think about is what your impressions are. So many of you might have an audience that doesn't click the like button no matter what you see. Melissa always gives a great example of her husband and how he does not, you know, he might be consuming things and he may not click the like button all the time. I'm the same way. So we want to make sure that we go to, you know, back to those analytics, which we're going to go over again I think tomorrow I'm going to do an analytics check with you, but go to your analytics and be looking at your post impressions. Look at your content performance. Look at it on a 30-day rolling scale and see where you're doing. What posts perform better? You can see your top performing posts. You can see where things are doing better and where you might need to improve. So that's where using Melissa's content pillars from yesterday can be, oh, do I need to change that up? So there's always information on LinkedIn that you can go back to kind of make a better decision about what you do next and how you do things better. So the last thing I think I have before we throw it over to Denise is just how to, and you can do this probably today. And if you do, tag Melissa and let her know that you're doing it. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go to Canva, click create a design, and I'm just going to use this size. And if obviously you'll want to put your design here for your carousel. A carousel is multiple slides that people can scroll through. And right now, I don't know about you, but people are consuming that type of content more. It seems to be a big ask for people to click in and read our posts. So if we have it available to them visually for them to scroll through, it's a lot easier. If you have no idea how to begin with a carousel post, if you go to Canva and you type in carousel, look, all sorts of templates for you. So we're going to use this one. You can just click on it and you can say, edit it the way that you want. But the trick is when you're doing this on LinkedIn to make it show up as a carousel, number one, do not forget to name this thing. If you don't name this and you name it Untitled Design Instagram Post, it's going to show up in your feed as Untitled Design Instagram Post. And that's not going to be good. So we want to make sure that we name this something that matters. But the biggest thing is we need to make sure that we click share, we click download, and then we change this to download this as a PDF. It can be PDF print or PDF standard, doesn't matter, but we want to make sure that we download this as a PDF. And I'm not going to download it because I'm just going to show you this as an example. But then we want to go back over to LinkedIn and I'm going to go here to start a post. I want to click this plus button. I want to hover over to where it says add a document and I want to add the PDF here. When you do that, it's going to show as that scrollable carousel that you can use to share content with your viewers. And I recommend using a carousel to everyone because it is once